live welcome, mystery and thriller fans, to this sizzling Memorial Day mystery special with celebrity guest Lisa Unger joining us live from Florida to dish the dirt about her brand new book or series, House of Crows. Lisa, welcome back. Tell us about House of Crows.
Hi, thank you for having me. Thank you for spending your Memorial Day afternoon with me. I'm hoping that at 4 o'clock on Memorial Day Monday, everybody's had enough, right, of the beach and the pool and eating all the hot dogs you can eat, maybe. I'm hoping. So time to curl up with a good book chat. So House of Crows released just a couple days ago, and it's a serial collection of short stories, and it's about 4 friends who all share a really dark experience in their childhood together, and it's something that none of them can really explain, and yet they all kind of take it with them out into their lives, and they construct lives even though they don't fully intend to. They construct lives around trying to find answers. One of them is a psychologist. One of them is a minister who tried for the priesthood and couldn't quite get himself there. One of them is a ghost hunter, and the other one, most disturbing of all, of course, is a writer. And so they've all spent a lifetime trying to understand this dark energy that exists at Matthew's childhood home called Merle House. And so when we first meet them, so each story is kind of a deep dive into each of these individual characters. And when we first meet them, they're all in very, very dark spaces in their lives. So of course it's the perfect moment for an invitation back to Merle House, where they have to sort of face down their demons within and without.
Ooh, and nobody can do that better than Lisa Unger. So I don't know how you all spent your weekend, but I have spent mine curled up with my beloved Pelu the Wonder Puppy, reading House of Crows and being alternately terrified because it is that scary and I can't stop reading. So I can't wait to get into all of the details. But first, I just want to welcome everybody who is watching with us on YouTube, on Facebook, wherever you're watching on all of these many channels. Thank you for spending your Memorial Day Monday with us here for this very special celebrity mystery event. If you've been here before, you know how it works. And if you're new, welcome. We're so happy to have you. And here's how it works. So every Tuesday, I give you 2 featured authors, but on Mondays, we do celebrities, and that's why we're doing this special Memorial Day Mystery Celebrity event. And when I bring these authors to you, it is to create a conversation, to give you loyal fans a chance to connect with your favorite authors and to also introduce you to your next favorite authors. So that's what we're here for. This is a conversation. This is a collaboration. So get your questions for Lisa going about her writing, her incredible, stellar career. My God, this woman has won so many awards. She's been honored and nominated for so much because of her incredible writing. So get your questions and comments going, and we will get them right over to you. So I already see lots of people logging on. Patricia saying, hello, ladies. Hey, Patricia, welcome back. Top community member there. Gail saying, I'm so confused. It's Monday. Gail, you know it is. Top community member there. Good to have you. Thanks for spending your Memorial Day with us. Patricia saying, can you ever truly have enough of the beach? Patricia,
No.
It's 57 where I am. So I took a cold walk on the beach. Patricia's saying, congratulations on the release. Yay, Lisa, congratulations. Out 3 days now. This is so exciting. Hello from a mighty place. Welcome. Gail saying she's watching the rain outside. It's perfect. If it's raining where you are, you're in the right place, because we're gonna keep it sizzling here, right on the show. Yes, Celebrity Monday. Okay, let's get the questions going. So Patricia says, Lisa, if I may ask, what made you decide to break this into 4 books instead of 1 mega book? Patricia, great question. Lisa, give us the scoop.
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, I sort of fell in love with short story writing. I wrote a short story called The Sleep Tight Motel, which was nominated for the Edgar Award. And then the following year, I wrote another short story called Let Her Be, which was recently just selected for the Best American Mystery and Suspense Anthology coming out at the end of this year. And I had written short stories before, but there was something just about the writing of these two short stories that kind of got me into that. And also I had written another one for Tampa Bay Noir. So I've been writing like a lot of short stories over the last couple of years. And there's something about the process, like for me, like the novel, the relationship to the novel is like, it's a year or more, and it's a like a deep, enmeshed relationship. And, there are good days and bad days, and it takes a long time for that story to develop itself. But for me, for short fiction, for me, I felt this like tremendous, like they come out in this like burst of energy, right? There's a tremendous amount of energy behind the writing of a short story for me. And it always feels like it was just there waiting to get told. And I just had to have access to it. And so after having done a couple of short stories, Amazon Original Stories approached me and said, do you think you could do a serial, like sort of like a collection of short stories that connected? And in fact, I had this idea that had been kicking around my head for a while, and it was like kind of loosely based on The Haunting of Hill House. It's like an iconic horror novel by Shirley Jackson, and it was something that had kind of always stuck with me. And what I always loved about it was, at the end of Hill House, you just kind of like, you have no idea like what actually happened. I mean, you really don't, right? And yet there were these, these different pieces, and like it seemed to me that Hill House only had as much power as you gave it. So I was like very interested in the idea of like 4 friends who all share an experience and having a deep dive into each individual character. Like I wanted each story to be about the one person, so that when they all come together at the end, you have this really like, you have a really deep understanding of each character and what motivated them, what they experienced, and then what drew them to this house. And so it really did very naturally fall for me into 4 pieces, 4 shorts that each have their own individual arc, but that are part of a overarching arc that link them all. And I just sort of really enjoyed writing it that way, but it was a completely organic decision. It wasn't like necessarily designed, it was like, this is kind of how the story told itself.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. Thank you for that insight and that secret. We're here for the behind the scenes, Lisa. That's what we're here for. Behind the scenes, #BTS. Patricia is saying that is a brilliant statement about Hill House. I never thought about it like that. Wow. Yeah. And Lisa, one thing that I love, one of the many things that I love that you did in House of Crows, is that at first you're not quite sure what's going on.
Right.
Is this house haunted? Does this house have a power in it? Are these people hearing things? We all hear bumps in the night, especially when I'm alone in the house. That's when the bumps start happening.
That's when they come. That's when they want to be heard. It's when you're alone.
Exactly. And then you're like, well, maybe this, at first I was thinking that one of the characters is kind of crazy, like maybe losing it. And so I wasn't sure what was going on. And I think you do that so brilliantly to reel us in. So
it's kind of like, the other idea about, that I kind of carried forward, not just from Hill House, but also from other, just sort of thoughts and ideas and research that I've done. It's like, the question of whether a house is haunted or whether there's some type of trapped spirit or demon or ghost. It's like the question always comes down to, is that for real or are you just crazy? And I always think that there's like such a fine line, right? Like, so maybe you are crazy, but maybe that's the only reason why you're available to hear what's being said, or can a haunting be like a kind of a virus that you catch? And that's kind of how I felt about Merle House. Like there's a darkness, there's like almost something that you breathe in, and it depends on who you are, whether you take that with you and it infects you, or do some people have an immune system to haunting? So like that was kind of those are the, sort of the things that I have been exploring in Merle House and the House of Crows and the Four Stories.
I love that. And I think another thing that was so interesting is that along that line is, so one of the characters, a psychiatrist, works with murderers, convicted
Yes.
murderers. And so you're playing also with the theme of darkness and lightness in people who are living as well. And I liked how in a session with him, she is telling herself, his negative toxic energy can't get in. And she's like, surround
Right.
yourself with light, surround
Right.
yourself with light. This guy's alive. He's sitting right in front of her. But I love how you played with that both in the physical, us world and
Yeah.
the
I mean,
other
I
world.
think I think anybody who is empathic or who's sensitive to energies, especially the energies of other people, that feeling of having to protect yourself from dark energy or from negative energy or unhappy energy or stressed energy. And that's kind of that's a real thing. It's not really an imaginary thing. And so there are people from whom, you find yourself, kind of leaning back a little bit, you're like, you're like, okay, that's some negative energy right there. And like that's a real thing. So then why couldn't it be just as real that a place held that kind of energy, or that, there was energy that got trapped, right? That got
Exactly.
trapped in a space, that, like any kind of toxin or poison, like it has a shelf life.
Ooh, a shelf life. That's such an interesting way to describe that, and so true. Kelly's saying hi from Aruba.
Ooh, hi
Ooh
from
la la.
Aruba. Nice.
Kelly, thanks for joining us from Aruba, stepping in from the beach to tune into this sizzling Memorial Day event. Gail's saying it's cold where she is. Hot tea for her. Absolutely. Christina, Bookstagrammer Extraordinaire, says, hi, Lisa and Sarah.
Hi,
Hey, Christina, good to
Christina.
have you. So many great questions are coming in, and I want to get to every single one of them. So I'm just scrolling here, making sure I don't miss anybody's. Oh, great one from Anissa, joining us from South Carolina. She says, Lisa, what would you be if you weren't an author, and why? Yeah, what's your secret career?
I would be a psychiatrist, of course. In fact, I think I
Ooh.
probably missed my calling.
And tell us why, she says. The second part of the question, let's hear about
I
why.
feel
Lisa.
like, because I do honestly feel like all my novels are really are me trying to answer questions that I have about people, about human psychology. Like I kind of consider myself to be a spelunker, like I am just like shimmying into the dark places of the human psyche to try to figure out what's there. I'm always very concerned in all the books with my, questions of identity, what makes us who we are, family, biology, genetics, like all of these things figure in very, very deeply into my work. And I really do think that the ultimate mystery is the human psyche. I mean, we know more about space than we know about our own brains. And so I feel like there's just this endless amount of information and ideas and concepts that I explore in my fiction, because I'm trying to answer questions I have, not just about people, but about the universe and about the other side of things, the sort of so-called paranormal, supernatural, for which I take a very Jungian perspective, which is basically just like, there are just questions about the mind and what it can do that we haven't answered yet. And
Ooh.
I think I don't even have to think about it. I know precisely what I would be doing if I wasn't an author.
That is fascinating. Thanks for the glimpse behind the curtain, and interesting that one of your characters in this book is a psychologist.
Yes. Yes.
Was her name ever going to be Lisa?
No.
Okay, fair. Oh my gosh. Well, I am loving this conversation so far. Let me just get to our next fabulous question. Ooh, this one's from Ashley. She says, Lisa, I'd love to know, do you have a favorite character from House of Crows? Bonus question, do you have a character that frustrated you most? Oh my God, I love this question. Lisa, tell us.
Hi, Ashley. That's so hard because I kind of, I love all my characters, even the the darkest and most deranged among them. I have a lot of empathy for each of them, and they all hold a special place in my heart. The whole catalog of characters over, 19 novels now, and of course, House of Crows and my other short stories, and a lot of my characters are pretty, they're pretty, they have issues. Let's just put it like that. They have problems. I think that the person I felt the most like sort of empathy for, and just I think the person I felt the most hope for in House of Crows was Mason. I felt that he came from, he got like dealt a pretty bad hand. He came from trauma and abuse, and he has a terrible dark side, but he has worked really hard to like kind of claw his way to the light. And I always loved those characters the most, because I feel like, that's all of us, right? We're all kind of like struggling towards the light. Most of us, right? Most of us are not like in the dark and content to be there and like spreading darkness. Some of us, maybe. Most of us not. Most of us are really trying to find our way into the light. And so that's, my time with Mason, I felt the most sympathy for him. I also liked his kind of dark and sarcastic sense of humor. I liked his like observations and stuff. So he definitely has a special place in my heart. And I don't know necessarily, I've had this question before, like, do your characters frustrate you? And I don't really recall feeling a lot of frustration with any of my characters. I kind of feel like if you're in a frustrated place with your characters, like they probably are going to stop talking to you, right? Like if you lose empathy with them, then you've disconnected from them somehow, right? So I feel like I spend a lot of time like listening and trying to understand and being present for them in the ways that I can. So I don't recall feeling like a lot of frustration with any of the characters in House of Crows.
But what about Jewel, the teenager?
I love Jewel.
I love Jewel too. I think Jewel may be my favorite character, even though there's a yoga teacher. So I felt like I should like the yoga teacher.
Right.
But I kind of love Jewel. She's such a surly teenager.
Yeah, I actually really like spending time with Jewel. Like she's such a firecracker. She really just, and I love her like sort of her gaming, and like how that kind of parallels with the events at the end of the story. And I love her relationship to Eldon, and I found that really interesting, like how that unfolded. Yes. And I really enjoyed Jewel a lot, and I also enjoyed your yoga teacher as well, the yoga influencer. She was so like sort of a little bit lost. So, Ian was kind of there for her, trying to help her into the light.
Well, it was so funny because, of course, and it was so funny because when they get to Merle House, this, fabulous sort of broken down castle mansion, mysterious structure, my first thought was like, oh my God, can we fix it up and make it a writer retreat or yoga retreat? And then I was like, oh my gosh, it was because, of course, I don't want to give too much away, but that was my first thought too. And I was the person who would get sucked into it. And of course, Matthew's like, this house sucks. We got to sell this place and get out of here. And I was like, no. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah.
Was Merle House based on a real place, Lisa, or did you completely dream that up?
I did completely dream it up. I dreamed up the whole thing. Yeah, there was not really. I always towards the end of the book, I don't think it gives anything away, like to say that I admit in a very sort of circular way that it's close to the Hollows. Like it's not in the Hollows, but you can see the Hollows from there, kind of thing. And so it's like that kind of area, which is how I grew up, like in northern, like a tri-state area, Northeast, like that's like sort of where I'm from. And I I always kind of go back, often find myself going back to that kind of environment. And I've always been really fascinated and the theme has come up a couple of times in my work about this old house, like an old house, right? These structures, that are, falling down and discovered and then remade, right? Like there's something about that I find incredibly appealing. And there's something so redemptive about finding a place that is broken, and maybe it's been neglected, or maybe it's the seat of darkness, like bad things have happened there, and the land is damaged, like the land and the house are sick, and that you can heal that. You can heal it. You can heal that space by bringing it, by giving it a second chance, like anything that's broken down or ruined or injured, right? Like you can heal it and make it better. And so that kind of comes up again and again. And so this idea of Merle House of being this like crippled giant, right? Like this thing that was built, it was like, it was one thing and then it was made into something else. And it was like a monument to ego in some ways, the way houses can be. I build this thing to show you my wealth, my power, right? And yet, it's just kind of, it's the foundation of it crumbles and it doesn't, and it just becomes very, very sick. And that, they were able to arrive and, maybe fix it up and maybe give it another life. And I kind of like that idea.
Oh, I love that idea. Oh, that's so cool. All right, Lisa, let's get down to it. Do you believe in ghosts? Have you ever seen one?
God, that's a really good question. I should have been prepared for that. I'm not going to say that I necessarily believe in ghosts in the way that we have been, in the way that stories have been told to us. But what I do believe in is energy.
Yes.
And I do believe in the idea of trapped energy, like places and people that hold on to things that are gone. And I do think that there are so many more questions about the nature of the universe and spirituality and psychospirituality and quantum physics, that there's so many things that we don't understand, that I think that it's possible that there are other layers of energy and existence that we, in our very limited capacity, don't quite understand yet. That being said, I did see a ghost. Actually, I've seen ghosts twice in my life. So I was when I was a young kid, my parents moved around a lot, and we spent a lot of time in the Netherlands, and we spent a lot of time in the UK. And so I grew up in this town called Kingston-on-Thames, which is a little bit outside of London. And I went to spend the night at a friend's house, and she lived in a very, very, very old house. And it was like a circle. The house was like built like in a circle. It was a very like interesting place. And I slept in her room with her. And when we went to sleep, I woke up a few hours later, and I walked out of her room to go to the bathroom. And I saw in another room that was empty a green light. And so, of course, being who I am, I went to go explore and see what was this green light. And there was a green man, a man who glowed green in a suit, sitting on the bed in a room that I'd never been in before. And I was not afraid, but I did just kind of back my way out.
Oh my God. Wait, Lisa, how old were you?
I must have been about, I want to say 6 or 7.
Oh my God, this is crazy. Wow. Yeah. And you weren't scared.
I was not scared.
Why do you think you weren't scared?
I don't know.
So he wasn't acting in a way that made you feel fearful. I mean, seeing a green man in a room would be
scary, right? But I was not scared. Even telling that, I don't feel scared. And then
Wow.
I felt we were in Germany, and I was again at somebody else's house. We were my parents and my brother and I were staying as guests in the home of friends, and I woke up to see people standing in the room that I was in. Again, another very old house. People standing around my bed, looking at me, and
Oh
just
my
kind
God.
of, again. That time I was scared. That time I got up and bolted.
Wait, how many people?
Like like maybe 4, maybe more, maybe like 5.
Like
Yeah,
a whole
I know.
family.
These are such crazy stories. Like when you tell them, they don't. They sound so crazy. But like as
No.
a kid, this was my experience. Like I was, a kid, and this is what I experienced, and it felt very real to me. Maybe, and then again, and so here you go again, right? Like, was it a dream? Maybe.
Right.
But what is the difference? What is the difference between dreaming and being awake? And, maybe it's when you're dreaming that you have access to things that you don't have access to when you're awake. So you can't even really answer the question. Did it happen? I don't know. But do I remember it as something real for me? Absolutely. And that's just kind of, that's another layer to, the House of Crows. That's why I enjoy kind of exploring those ideas, because there's so many questions. Like you can't ever stop asking them.
Exactly. Oh my
Yeah.
God, this is so cool. I love this. Very, very cool. Okay, our next question from Patricia. Oh, that's a big one. So I'm just going to read it to you. She said, in the development of characters, do you begin with someone you know that will, of course, will never be named out loud, LOL, and then build what you need their personality traits to do? So there's a 3-part question here. So let's pause there on that one and answer that first.
No, characters are not based on any real person. And it's usually, so for me, every book starts with, like an idea, like a germ, right? In this case, it was something that I had for a really long time, like this idea of like this haunting as a virus, like something that you catch and that you carry with you, right? And so that kind of kicks around for however many years. Like who knows? Might be a month, might be 5 years. Like who knows when it's going to start to, demand to be dealt with. And then then research, right? There's a lot of research that goes into most books, or it might just be that there's something I'm obsessed about, something that I want to know more about. And so I start trying to learn more about it. And then the best way I can describe what happens next is like I start to hear a voice. I start to hear a character voice. And it's that voice that I follow into the narrative.
Oh.
And so no one's ever really, of course, every character is an amalgamation of my observations, my imagination, things that I've seen, people that I know, things that I hear, conversations that I overhear, characters of other pieces of literature that have inspired, of course, right? They're all slivers of my own psyche. Like there's, no denying that, but it's not how I experience it. So I feel that they're very real and that they're their own people. Like nobody's ever based on any one person. And I have had people feel that that they are the person in my book. And of course that's not true. And I'm always like kind of amazed by that. I always think, God, the arrogance of that, like to think that I wrote about you in my book. Like, don't you know that it's all about me? Really?
It sounds like someone's feeling a little guilty and seeing themselves on the page and projecting.
Right. This is what I'm thinking. Like, if you have if you think that you're on the page and you don't like what you see, then I'm pretty sure what you need to do is look in the mirror. Like, I don't think you need to be looking at me.
Exactly. I think the more interesting question is not if it's based on them, but why they think it
Why
is.
do you think that? Like, and these have not been nice. These have not been nice characters, right? So I'm like, really? Because is that how you see? Is that how you see yourself?
Exactly.
Nobody wants to be asked that question. So yeah. So anyway, that's it. Things are It's complicated.
Very complicated. Very, very interesting. Yes. Oh my gosh. I remember Kathleen Flynn, who wrote The Sharper Your Knife, the Less You Cry, about going to cooking school, going to Le Cordon Bleu in Paris.
Wow.
And she shared that two people who behaved very badly in the book. Her book is a memoir. So two people behaved very badly, did not recognize themselves, but thought that they were someone else who behaved very well.
Yes.
It was awesome.
Yes. A lot of people, I have heard that over and over again from writers who have, what is it? It's a roman, a clef, is that right? And they write about people, like they have created characters that are basically just hatchet jobs of real life people, and they say almost without exception that people do not recognize themselves.
It's so interesting,
and I find that really interesting.
Especially because people who aren't your characters are proclaiming themselves to be.
I know.
I sense another mystery.
Another mystery. I might need to write about that sometime.
I think you should. The second part of Patricia's question is, have you visited old homes to get that haunted vibe? She says, I'm always afraid that I'm going to bring something back with me when I explore homes in the Hudson Valley. What about you, Lisa? Give us this inside scoop on that.
Yeah, I haven't done a lot of that sort of on purpose. Like I was mentioning the houses that I had occasion to visit when I was a kid, and nearby where I live is a place called the Bellevue Biltmore, and it was an old hotel that was that kind of went to seed, and then like really went to seed. Like it had been abandoned, and it was like sitting empty, and it was like actually it was became a home to coyotes. Yeah, in our area. I know, isn't that crazy? And it's recently been bought and it's being redone. But there was claims that was haunted, and I was always like kind of interested in that. But I did wind up reaching out at one point to a woman locally here who was a ghost hunter. And I wound up connecting with her online, and I just like asked her to, if she would go out to lunch with me, and she did. Her name is Brandy. And my visit with her and her like sort of, way of ghost hunting stayed with me for a long time. It was a really long time before anything from that wound up on the page. And that's true a lot, because I do that a lot. Like if I just find somebody who I think is interesting, I just, send them a note and say, hey, do you want to hang out with me? Usually they do.
Do you want to hang out and talk about ghosts?
You want to talk about what you do? And most people do. So yeah.
Totally. That's my kind of lunch. That's
yeah. And I like doing that. So it takes a long time. I think, they probably did go there. Ghost Hunters. Yeah, that show.
Yeah, Ghost Hunters did go there. Very
interesting. And so I do a lot of sort of stuff like that, but mainly my research into that has been reading. Although, I wouldn't turn it down. If somebody invited me someplace haunted.
You'd pack your tiny bags and go.
I would. I definitely would.
So, Lisa, House of Crows is a 4-part short story series.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is, each one is supposed to take you about 90 minutes. That is, I actually was savoring, so I would go back and reread. Each one is complete, but they're all cumulative.
Yeah.
So tell us one thing I noticed in all of your books, both the long form novels and the short story, you keep those pages turning. You keep them going, and you keep me up till 3 a.m. routinely, woman. Like I was up until 2 this morning reading, and I got to the end, and then I was so scared I had to get up and check and make sure all of the doors and windows were locked, because I was just scared a ghost was coming in.
Yay, I did my job. Thank you. That makes me happy.
And as a reader, I just was terrified, but enjoying it. And as a writer, I was admiring from a craft perspective how you write such a tightly woven. I mean, you just go, and I'm blazing through the pages. I have to read another chapter. I can't just stop at the end. I've got to read another. How do you do that? You are widely regarded as a master of suspense. How do you do that? What's the secret?
I mean, I think I wish I knew. I wish I could give you like a nuts and bolts answer to that question, but I think it's mainly that, I write for the same reason that I read, because I want to know what's going to happen to my
Ooh.
characters. So I'm always very deeply involved, and they unfold for me on the page, much in the same way that they will unfold for you, my reader, later.
Ooh.
And so I'm always very deeply invested in what's happening. And I feel like if I have that sense of urgency and that I am like deeply involved with my character, then I feel like my hope is that my reader is in that same space as well.
I love that. So it's the deeply involved for you.
It is. It's very involved. Like I'm just very like, a lot of times people ask that question like, oh, there's a lot of characters. How do you not get confused, right, as a writer? And I think to myself, I don't understand. Like, do you get confused between your friends? Like, do you confuse your brother with your nephew, with your husband, with your grandmother? Like, no, because they're different people. You're living your life and you know that, and you know who they are, what's happened to them in their lives, right? Like, and so that's really how I feel about my characters. Like, I'm not confused because this is like, they're alive, right? They're living on the page. And so I am, that kind of involvement, I think communicates to my readers. I think that's the only way I can explain why, people want to keep turning the pages. Like I want to keep turning the pages. Like I want to know.
Oh, I love
want to
that.
keep peeling back those layers and finding out what's there, what's really there, what really happened. Because I don't know when I sit down to write. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who's going to show up, and I don't know what they're going to do. And I don't want to know until it's time to know.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Okay. That's such an interesting and different way of looking at it. I love this behind the scenes. I love getting this glimpse into Lisa Unger's process. Anissa is saying there's lots of ghosts in Charleston, South Carolina. Oh my God.
Right. I bet.
She said there's also great tours. Okay, Anissa, good to know, right? Because that's an old town. That's an old city.
Yeah. That reminds me of, I took a ghost tour in St. Augustine. It's coming back to me now.
Lisa now remembers she's seen a third ghost.
No, I didn't see a ghost. But what I did see was we took a haunted tour of St. Augustine, and I remember that it was like, I don't know, it was like August, and it was nighttime, but it's Florida, and it was like just insanely hot. It was like so humid, you couldn't believe it. Like just the way nothing else but Florida is humid, right? And there was on the haunted tour, there happened to be a frat house, and the boys in the frat house took this as their opportunity to like have a little fun. Like they waited for the ghost tours, and so they were parading around their living room in like sheets, going woo. So I do remember that from my St. Augustine ghost tour. Those guys had a good time. We thought it was pretty funny too, actually.
Oh, yeah. So you have seen a third ghost, but it wasn't a real one.
Right. I did see it was a guy in a sheet though. So
just a guy in a sheet.
It probably doesn't count.
Yeah, I think that one doesn't count, but the first two definitely do.
They do.
Patricia, oh my gosh, Patricia's saying, Sarah, what kind of locks do you have that can keep ghosts out? I don't like to think about that too deeply.
That's a plot hole. Don't look too deep.
You know what it is? It's an energetic barrier. I just like Lisa's psychologist character. I surround myself with light.
Yeah, yes. There you go. Right.
Exactly. I love that. Okay. I'm just making sure I'm not missing any of the comments here. Patricia's saying she loves to get new recommendations here. She started reading Local Woman Missing because of my interview with Mary Kubica. Oh, very cool. Thank you so much. I love
Hi, Mary. Love her.
Mary was just on last week. It's so great to have her. Nisa saying she finished The Invisible Husband of Frick Island by Colleen Oakley. Very cool. Patricia is saying Savannah, Georgia is also haunted too with a movie Midnight Throne of Good and Evil. Charleston is so beautiful. Yeah, so many old ghosty towns down there.
Yeah. those are, yeah, some beautiful old cities for sure.
So, Lisa, one thing again, again, as the master of suspense that you are, again, keeping those pages turning, what is the major difference? Is there one between writing long form novels and writing short story, like this collection, this series of 4? Was there a difference, or is it just always keeping those pages turning? Is the secret and the structure the same?
Well, it's different. It's really they're really different, actually. So the novel is a long and enduring relationship. It's a
Mm,
it's usually more than a year. It's 100,000 plus words. It takes a long time for me for the novel to develop.
mm,
Because of the way I write. And there are really good days, and when it's magic and the pages are flowing, and then there are days when it's not magic, and it's just craft and hard work and sheer tenacity, and that's all good. But the short story is different in that, for me, it's a real burst of energy. I usually feel the full form of the story before I even sit down to write. And when I have written, the last few that I have written have been very much so like an intense burst of energy and writing. And it's a shorter process, of course, and there's something that is, or at least it has been for the ones that I have written so far. And there's like a real high energy vibration to it that is different from novel writing. But as far as what's the same is, for me, character is king.
mm,
Everything begins and ends with character. If people don't care about your characters, they do not care about your plot.
mm.
That's just the bottom line. It's like people read books because they want to read about people. And that's always central for me, is the characters and the characters' voices and their journey, and all plot flows from character.
I love that. Now, in terms of actually, how you keep those pages turning, is that the same between short story and a novel? Like, or do you have to structure things? I've never written a short story, so is it just a totally different animal, or do you use your same tools and secrets and sort of tricks to structure this? To structure the book, to structure the characters, the narrative arc, all of those things, are they the same or very different?
Oh no, I don't know if I can answer that. Like, for me it all feels the same, in that I'm as involved with the character and the story. It doesn't feel like, oh, I'm less involved with this, or oh, it's shorter so it's easier. Like, there's nothing like that. It's just totally different. One is like a longer relationship, and like, so yeah, your novel is like your marriage, and your short story is like an affair. Sorry, I'm not having an affair, but like, if I were, then maybe that's maybe that's what it would be like.
I love that. Okay, so it's the same. It's just the length of the relationship that's different.
I think so, but there's also an intensity to the short story writing. I mean, there are intense bursts within the novel writing, but the whole story is like kind of an intense universe. It's something that happens very intensely, and usually pretty quickly. And it's a faster flow, I guess I would say.
Very cool. Um, so Lisa, speaking of novels, so the paperback of your most recent novel, Confessions on the 745, which we had you here in October to discuss, and it was, oh my God, I read it in, I think, record time. It was, wow, a thrill ride, a roller coaster. I couldn't figure out what was going on there. There were so many ups and downs, and all of the long-standing sort of connections. It was so crazy and so cool.
Thank you.
That paperback is coming out July 13th and has
Yes.
been nominated for an award. Tell us about that.
Yes, it's been nominated for the International Thriller Writers Thriller Award for Best Novel, which is incredibly exciting.
Wow.
Yeah,
Congratulations. That's amazing.
it's hugely exciting. I mean, it's such a great honor too, because that the people that, first of all, the people that were doing the judging were doing it during the pandemic. And so the way that they, just the dedication to the reading of all these books, and they had to kind of pivot to e-reading because it was just almost impossible for them to get the books and all that. So they really and that these are our peers, these are fellow writers. So to have them nominate the novel just is very meaningful.
So incredibly meaningful, such a
Yeah.
huge honor. But my God, I mean, Lisa, this is earned. I mean, this is entirely a credit to you. And for those of you who don't know, Lisa has also been nominated for or won numerous awards, including the Hammett Prize, the Macavity, the Thriller Award, the Goodreads Choice Award. I mean, you have just been nominated for so much, including in 2019, Lisa also, this is so cool. I can't even, it sort of blows my mind. Lisa received 2 Edgar Award nominations. And there have been precious few people who have done that. And one of the other ones is freaking Agatha Christie herself. I mean, that just sort of blows my mind. That is absolutely incredible. So, and now to see you nominated again for the ITW for Confessions, that is fantastic. Huge congratulations.
Thank you. It's
and for those of you who haven't read it, you must. Patricia's saying, wow, congratulations. This is so cool. This is like an author's SAG award.
Exactly.
I absolutely love that. Margaret would like to know, have you ever been on the judging side? It's an interesting seat to be in as a writer. Lisa, have you?
I have been. I judged. I think it was. Well, it was the Thriller Award. I'm trying to remember the year. But yeah, I have been on the judging side as well. And it is I know what a mammoth undertaking it is to read almost every book that came out in any given year. And because I have been a judge, I have extra appreciation for the people who did the judging this year for ITW.
And it must be incredibly hard to try to pick between so many fantastic books.
It is. I mean, it definitely always, and it's interesting too that, and I've done a number of other judging positions where, I judged for Family Circle. I judged a short fiction contest, and then yearly I judge a literary arts scholarship for Tampa Bay Business for Culture and the Arts down here in Florida. And so I've done that quite a bit. So I know like how much energy goes into it, and I think it's interesting to find that when there's a panel of judges, like usually there's a panel of judges for everything, almost always it comes down to the same 5 or 6 books. Like even though you're working independently from each other, it comes down to some of the same people, which I think kind of speaks to that, just the recognition of a certain something that you're looking for. Like it usually does come down to the same. There may be some arguments about like 1 or 2 of them about this belongs, this doesn't, but generally speaking, you're kind of on the same page.
That's really interesting. Sort of like the Oscars and the SAGs and
right.
You see the same group, and there is sometimes that 1 or 2 variables. Right. I absolutely love that. Margaret is saying congratulations. Patricia is saying congratulations. This is really, really cool to see. Lisa, you're also working on another book out. Margaret's saying the quality shines through. Absolutely. Your next book, I just want to talk about this really quickly, is coming out on October 5th and already racking up incredible praise. Last Girl Ghosted. Tell us about that.
So Last Girl Ghosted comes out October 5th, and it is about a young advice columnist. She is kind of pushed into the world of online dating by her best friend. And she's really not that into it, and she's not looking for anything serious. She's got, she's a little bit, she's got some issues. Surprise, surprise. And she's really not into finding love, but in fact, she does. She finds somebody and she falls in love with them, and she falls really hard, and she thinks he's the one. So they have a romantic evening, and he asks her, sort of in the wee hours of the morning, he says, "Tell me something that you've never told anyone." And she does.
Oh my God.
And the next day, he ghosts her. He disappears. His profiles are removed, and he's gone. He's gone as if he never existed. There's somebody else living in his apartment. The place where he worked is empty. And
Oh my God.
she is devastated, but she's also mad.
Yeah.
And so when a private detective shows up at her door asking questions about her missing boyfriend, she decides that she's going to follow his very dark digital trail and discover who he really is. But in doing so, of course, she's going to have to go back into her own past and realize that she's just one of a group of women that he has left in his wake.
Oh my God, Lisa, what a fabulous idea. I'm totally hooked in just from that elevator pitch. I love it. Oh my God.
I hope you love it.
I'm going to love it because I love all of your books, but oh my God, this is so
I'm going
exciting.
to send it to you. And I can't believe I didn't even I just got the galleys. Like, I've been waiting. Like, everybody's been getting their galleys except for me. I'm like, oh, wow, Hannah got her galley. Like, I'm like, oh no. And I can't believe I didn't bring one up to show everybody. But yeah, it has an absolutely stellar, gorgeous cover, which you can see at lisaunger.com. And then you can learn everything you never knew you wanted to know about me and the books right there.
I'm popping that into the comments right now, so everyone go check out, because the book cover is gorgeous, as all of Lisa's are, and it's
really stunning.
I'm so excited to read it. Margaret is saying, content warning for ghosting, because we've all been there and wondered.
It's a trigger alert for ghosting. Right?
It's a trigger alert, because where did that guy go? And oh my God, I'm just so intrigued. I can't. So I like that I like that this girl is like, no, I am going to track him down.
I'm going to track him down. Like, that's what I really love about her. Name is Ren, and she's kind of a badass. So she didn't want to fall in love. She did, and now she's pretty mad. So
I love it. And Ren is going to do it for all of us who have ever wondered, where the hell did that guy go?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, we are almost out of time. Lisa Unger, I just want to thank you for coming on, for spending your Memorial Day with us. Oh, Gail is saying, thank you, Sarah and Lisa. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, because it has been, thank you for spending your Memorial Day, whether it's hot in Florida or whether it's cold up north. Yeah. Thank you for spending your Memorial Day weekend with us, and for tuning in for this sizzling Memorial Day mystery. If you haven't already grabbed it, you need to grab a copy of this book. I'm dropping the link into the comments right now. You guys, you will buzz right through it, and you'll be terrified but excited. So you have to check it out.
Yes, please do. And also, do we have a second to talk about the audio version?
Oh my gosh, of course, we need to know.
Yeah, so they did an audio version of House of Crows. So each book has its own audio edition, and it's an ensemble cast of narrators.
Ooh.
Yes, and it's really, really cool. If you like audio, every character has a different actor. So it really came together in a super exciting and brilliant way. And I got to hear the audition tapes for each of the narrators, which was so cool. And what was really extra cool about it was that they auditioned from the manuscript. So usually you just hear their other work and then you decide from that. But in this case, they were actually reading from the manuscript. So I got to pick the voices from a group of people. And I was just like, it was funny to have like that moment where you were like, oh, that's right. That's the voice. Right. And like, it kind of matched the voice that was in my head a little bit. So that was really cool. I really enjoyed that.
That's so cool. So how many voices did they narrow it down to 3 for you, and then you got to pick?
Yeah, it was about, well, it was between 2 and 3 for each character. Yeah.
Wow. Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's so cool.
It
And
was
was it
really
an
cool.
easy choice for you, or you were
It
like,
was. It really was. It was like immediate. Everybody was super talented, so it wasn't like this one's good and this one's not good. It was just that this one is the voice. Like you just heard, like I just heard it. Like, oh yeah, that's the voice that was close to what I was hearing in my head. So
oh
that
my,
was interesting.
that's so cool. Patricia's joking. She said, "Is James Earl Jones one of them? I could listen to him read the
No,
phone book."
no.
Absolutely.
Or what's the other guy? Is it David
Oh,
Attenborough?
David Attenborough. Absolutely.
All the names are just like yay. Those iconic voices that you just really want to listen to all the time.
Exactly. Margaret is saying this is a new goal to shoot for. Thank you, Lisa. Absolutely. An ensemble cast. That is so cool.
It was
And
really cool.
everybody, I'm putting the link in the comments so you can grab your House of Crows, and if you haven't already, and start reading it, because it is, you will devour it and it is delicious. So
Thank
everybody, thank
you.
you so much for spending your Memorial Day Monday mystery with us on the special mystery celebrity event. Lisa Unger, thank you for spending your Memorial Day with us. It's been so fabulous and so fun as always. And I cannot wait to have you back and chat about Last Girl Ghosted.
Oh, Sarah, thank you so much. You're such an amazing interviewer and writer and yogi and all of it. And I just appreciate you so much. Everything that you do for me and for authors and for books, it means a lot. And I just hope you know how fabulous you are.
Oh my God, Lisa Unger, I'm gonna cry. That's so lovely. Thank you so, so much. I mean, honestly, you are so incredibly talented and brilliant and kind and humble. And it is such an honor to host you and to chat with you. And those very high praise from you. And I'm just so honored. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you, Sarah.
Everybody, have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow for a Mystery Tuesday. See you then.